Are UFOs drawn to a small part in the UK? Were aliens behind a mysterious death in Yorkshire? What would you do if no one believed that you were abducted? Today we test the believability of the abduction of Alan Godfrey.
Welcome to Believing the Bizarre,
Where we dive into the unknown and the unusual.
and tell you whether or not we find it believable.
We are back with our, I'd say, mascot, aliens.
Aliens, UFOs, green people, gray people.
It always feels like so long since we talked about them.
Yeah, I don't know our last one. Injured Cold, I guess, technically.
Yeah, kind of.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
he had a spaceship and a
I would
planet.
count it. Yeah, for sure. That's such an interesting story. I want to hear the episode about what happened to that actual guy.
I thought you were like, I want to hear the episode on Injured Cold. It's like, well, I know where you can listen to it, Charlie.
On Spotify or Apple or anywhere else.
Anywhere else.
Not Stitcher, because that's dead.
Yeah.
Rip
Yeah.
Stitcher.
That's okay, though.
We had someone on
Circle of
our
Life
Discord. I think their username was like the only Stitch listener or something like that.
Mm.
It was pretty good.
And they're gone now.
So we're going to talk today about the abduction of Alan Godfrey. You said you're a little familiar with this, but I don't think you know the whole story.
I read one source.
Okay, well, regardless, in my sources, I used history.co.uk, and I also use, hold on, let me find it real quick.
I feel like you're bringing your attaché case of like sources. Like you might have listened to this little source, but like thud on the table, click, click, open up.
Examinerlive.uk.
Examiner Live.
Yeah, and also the Yorkshire Post.
Ooh, is that a newspaper?
It is a newspaper.
Digital journal, perhaps?
Perhaps. I don't know the differences. So yes, are you ready to just dive into this? Cue to myself, Charlie, when you're editing, cue spooky music right here. It all started in a small town in the UK.
Aren't they all? Are there any large towns there?
London?
Yeah.
Edinburgh's pretty big.
Okay, it's two. What else you got?
Liverpool?
All right, now we're okay. But so this one's small.
This one's small. On June 6th, or they would say 6th of June, 1980, Zygmunt Adamowski, who is a Polish immigrant, went out into the West Yorkshire countryside. He went out to go shopping, and he never came back to his home. He was found dead. 3 days later, on June 9th, he was located on top of a 10-foot coal pile in Tormodon, 20 miles away from his hometown of Tingley. DC Alan Godfrey was sent to investigate. He found out that Adamowski had on a suit, but his shirt, wallet, and watch were all missing. His hair and his beard were roughly chopped and seemed to have started to grow back about a day's worth, indicating that he had potentially been alive when he went missing. Now, Godfrey also reported that Adamowski had burns on his head, neck, and shoulders. When the coroner looked at the body, he confirmed that the burns were there and seemed to be treated by a strange, unidentifiable ointment. When Godfrey spoke to the reporters, he reported that aliens may have been involved. He said this to the reporters. He said, quote, "I am open-minded," and also, quote, "can't rule it out," end quote. Life in the small town went back to normal. Yeah, so that's like the first part of this. The first half is this mysterious death. Do you have any thoughts you want to...
So why did Friedman investigate it? Was he asked to? Or did he assume it was paranormal?
Those are two different questions.
Why was Friedman on the case?
He was a cop in the area.
So he was a local enforcer.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So he wasn't like somebody with a paranormal bias brought into this.
No, he is a policeman. He's a policeman. This is a case that he's working on.
This feels like the opening to a movie where it's like you find out that this is like the quirky detective. And they're like, oh, guess who's on the line again?
Oh, Friedman. It's Godfrey.
Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, yeah, Godfrey. Was it the spaceman or the hairy guy in the woods?
I don't know. It's just such a weird case. I think he couldn't rule out the strangest because there are strange elements to what happened. He just vanished. And then he just shows up 3 days later.
I feel like if we were a podcast.
Oh, we are.
Where we talked about like mafia hitmen. I feel like the story without the paranormal aspect could fit in there potentially.
In England? Is there mafia in England?
If there's large towns in large cities, then there has to be some. You don't think there's any like crime? Or
there's definitely Irish mafia.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they just travel.
All right.
And it's like, hey, honey, I'm gonna go to the bank and get out $400 for groceries. I'm going grocery shopping. Not doing a drop off. Don't worry about me.
She's like, where's your shirt?
What happened to your beard?
I don't know.
I'm not saying that that's what this was.
I'm
just
strange.
saying if I try to think of it not in a paranormal lens, and that is where my mind goes. Or like he witnessed something that he shouldn't have, and they just took him.
And they held him captive for a day, and then they killed him.
Yeah, so the shaving thing is whatever. I think the burn marks, I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess the strangest thing, because it sounds like he could have been abducted even by people.
Yeah, it does sound like that.
The ointment or whatever that they couldn't identify is interesting. The burn marks and everything. Like, I mean, there's definitely signs that this could be alien-based, for sure. I'm not trying to discredit that. I'm just trying to also think that, perhaps it could be human-based as well.
I wonder, I think overall the crime is not strange, but if you stack it on top of what actually happens with Godfrey eventually, so it's kind of like those little pieces that could be attributed to other things, and then it adds up to something maybe bigger.
It's crazy that he went there, though, like in his profession.
Yeah, that he said that?
He's like, probably could be aliens, y'all.
Well, I think it's just so strange that he can't rule out the weird stuff. You know what I'd be saying? Man,
even if I was doing this podcast and in my real life I was a police officer, it would have to be intensely, remarkably UFO based for me, I think, to say.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think I would go out on a limb because, you need a certain level of credibility in that profession.
Yeah, no, you do. Because that's one of the biggest reasons why I think I do trust policemen the most with this kind of thing. Like, if you see if a policeman comes out and says, I'm not going to that house, there's ghosts in there, it makes you, really question, are there ghosts in there?
Yeah, it's if it's a person with a profession where I guess I don't know if police is the perfect example of this.
No,
but I know what you're saying because we've experienced that in the past.
Well, maybe let's look at the Kadena, Japanese-based Kadena.
Yeah,
there is that house that no one wanted to go into because it was f***ing haunted.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it feels a little forced so far. Even though I agree what's been found has been very peculiar, it just seems it feels like a podcast like us would be like, yeah, aliens. Where it seems strange that a police officer would be like, yeah, you never know.
You're right. Us saying that makes total sense. But a cop, it's
almost like I'm being contrarian. Like if the police officer was like, obviously he was kidnapped, I'd be like, well, how do you know? Kidnapped by what? Aliens? But I feel like since a cop. Maybe I'm just being rebellious. The cops said aliens. I'm like, probably wasn't.
I think, like I said earlier, I just think it is strange.
It's very
just not that strange, but combined with what will happen. Okay. So let's get to there. Let's get to what's going to happen.
Sure.
Everything was normal for 5 months, but in November of the same year, Godfrey was responding to a very uncommon call at 5 a.m. of cattle in the road. Coming up this road, that's when Godfrey was stopped in his tracks. This is when he saw the flying object. It was hovering in the middle of the road. It was bright in the sky, and the light was blinding. Alan said it was a rotating diamond-shaped ship. It was, according to Godfrey, 20 feet high and 14 feet wide. The officer grabbed his notebook and made a quick sketch. And this is what he actually sketched out.
Okay.
Yeah. Not like a diamond you're thinking about, right?
No.
It's more like a diamond in a ring.
Yeah.
Just so, because like I was thinking, diamond.
Yeah, I thought it was a diamond, like, I guess the flat it was a flat diamond that was just rotating like this.
Yeah, no, it's more like a like a ring that would be cut kind of diamond. As soon as he finished, he took his radio out and found that his radio was dead. That's when there was a flash, and then the object was gone. But then Godfrey noticed that he was not in the same place he was. He was 30 feet up that same road. So he moved 30 feet. He also was confused because when he looked at his watch, he found that about 25 minutes had elapsed in the blink of an eye. Not only that, but the officer's boot was split open and he had a mark on his foot that was uncontrollably itchy. Godfrey slowly rolled his car back to where he'd been about 25 minutes ago, and the ground of the road was dry in spite of the fact that it had been raining.
When he rolled his car?
No, he didn't push his car, but he slowly...
He drove it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
thought you meant like his car battery died.
No. His car didn't...
Okay.
No, his car was working okay.
Like that would be very... Like getting abducted probably sucks, but if it killed your car battery and you had to push your car back... Yeah.
You don't want to tell people at the studio, at the station about what happened.
Yeah, that's not good.
No. He got out of his car to take a closer look. And when he did, the cows that he'd been called out to put back in their pen were already in their pen. And they were looking at him.
Well, at least the aliens did one decent thing.
Or they were never actually out of their pen.
I like to believe the aliens put them back.
I think they were an illusion, personally. Now, when he reported what happened to him, he was ridiculed. They didn't quite say it was Jupiter, but they still didn't believe him.
Chasing Venus?
Yeah. No one actually believed him. And when he told a friend, his friend told him to speak to a hypnotherapist.
For like that regression therapy type of thing?
And that's exactly what he
treat that
did.
athlete's foot.
That's exactly what he did. So he went to this hypnotherapist and he recounted what happened to him after the blinding light. He reported that he passed out and awoke in a small room where he was being examined by several small creatures and a tall figure with a beard. And once again, no one believed him because it seemed too wild. Now, after weeks had gone by, Alan's story was made international. And then Alan was one day called into the inspector's office.
His name's Alan Friedman?
Alan Godfrey.
Where is Friedman coming from?
I don't fucking know.
Why do I keep saying Friedman?
I don't know.
I'm stupid.
After weeks had gone by, Godfrey's story had made international news. However, Godfrey was then called into the inspector's office. In the inspector's office sat a man in a black suit, and Godfrey referred to him as, quote, the man from the Ministry of Magic. You're a wizard, Godfrey.
The Ministry of Magic. That's real. Not magic, but the Ministry.
The Ministry is real, yes. Because in the sixth book is like one of my favorite books. It starts with the Prime Minister in the Ministry.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. He held a file up when they met.
His wand.
He showed him Godfrey's own drawing of the craft. That's when it all seemed to add up. He wasn't allowed to see the rest of the files, but Godfrey assumed he had everything else. His incident report, along with the hypnotherapist reports, along with even Adamaski's report, the murder. So he assumed he had everything. Now, he made Godfrey swear to the Official Secrets Act that he would not speak to anyone else about this. And Godfrey begrudgingly agreed.
Except for those 3 sources you mentioned at the beginning of the episode.
He will eventually break his silence.
Okay.
I'm not sure when, actually, but he will eventually. Alan clocked seeing that the same agent several times over the following weeks. He was out and about, and he was being followed.
Wait, Alan what?
Clocked him. He saw it. Clocked it.
Okay.
After several drinks at the local pub and seeing this man again, Godfrey confronted him and told him to clear off. He disappeared. It was never seen again. And
is that their way in the UK of saying off?
I think it is. But, I kind of feel bad for the guy from the ministry because it's hard to make friends when you're an adult,
Yeah. And, being in a black suit and dealing with aliens, you're going to get a bad rep anyway.
Yeah. So he's just like, he probably was following him for secrets or whatever.
You want to get some coffee on him?
Yeah, right. He just wanted to ask him for some tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They drink coffee, though, right?
They do, but it's more about the tea.
In the afternoon. And the breakfast and the nap time.
And the English breakfast. And the Earl Grey and the...
Second breakfast.
Do they drink other kinds of tea in England? Or is it just Earl Grey?
I don't know.
I don't want to get in trouble. All right, anyway. Despite the fact that several other officers did report seeing lights in the sky that night, Alan was transferred because he was embarrassing the department.
They didn't want to vouch for him. They said, Alan can go clear himself.
Yeah, you go clear right out of here. He regretted having ever seen the UFO in later years because of the embarrassment it brought his family. However, Godfrey was not the only person to experience UFOs in Yorkshire. Vicky Didison was walking her dog when she saw a diamond-shaped object in the sky. She kept it to herself after she talked to her father because they didn't want to end up like Godfrey. Now, Godfrey goes on to lose all his credibility to the public, and he would be dismissed from several jobs.
He's just born in the wrong decade. I feel like if it was 2022, they'd be like, yeah, Anne.
Yeah, I know. No, he got really unfortunate with this. This thing really destroyed his life. Because I've said before, if you see an alien, it's going to mess up your life.
You have said that.
Yeah.
I think that was episode 1.
Yes.
Was that the same year?
Yes, it was the same year. When Godfrey gave an interview in 2014 to Halifax about what happened to him, he said, quote, "This was a nuts and bolts craft, not a trick of the mind." He also said, quote, "I have never seen anything like it. I would swear in the Bible it was from somewhere else. These things have been seen so many times above Tormodon, they call it the area UFO alley." End quote.
Wow. He's like, hey, can I tell you this, off the record? They're like, let me set up my camera, hit record. Yeah. So tell me about your experience. He's like, all right, so don't tell anyone, but like, okay.
So I've got a couple more stories about this area that they call UFO alley in Yorkshire. So, this is from the Examiner Live. Now, Examiner Live. There have been many sightings in Yorkshire in the area since Godfrey's abduction. And I got some rapid fire encounters.
Awesome.
They're pretty quick. This is from Ellen Dean. And she witnessed some mysterious lights in her own back garden.
I see the emphasis on garden here.
Yes.
Which is backyard in America, apparently.
That's right. Back in March.
We're too dumb to grow gardens. We just go to Walmart and Big Bird.
These are not chronological. You're not going to like it.
Nah, it's fine.
Back in March of 2020, this is when she saw them. She said, quote, "I was amazed and intrigued." She said, "I wanted to know more about them, what they were, if there was some kind of aircraft flying around from RAF Station."
Why aren't these lights wearing masks?
Yeah. Or maybe Chinese lanterns, but they weren't. I live in a village, so there isn't any light pollution. Eventually, the bizarre lights simply disappeared. End quote.
I've seen... Now, I don't have a garden. Well, actually, fun fact, my parents do have a garden. They have a nice garden. And they have blueberry bushes that my son likes to pick blueberries. But in 2014, me and Claire, when we were dating, and we're married now. It's not like we leveled up. And my friend Ethan, we were swimming in...
Also married to you.
We were swimming in my parents' pool, and we saw a bunch of red lights coming over the trees.
Yeah.
And they disappeared. And when we looked into it, they just said they were like the lantern lights, like those Chinese lantern lights. And we were like, no. I'm not saying they were UFOs. I don't know what they were, but they definitely weren't that.
That's out in God's country, not Shabila. That's open sky.
It's basically Montana.
She mentioned RAF, which is it's a military station. There's a lot of military bases in this area, which I don't know why, but there are. Kind of like the UFO. It's kind of like the UK, like Roswell-y kind of area. Like there's a lot of bases.
Seems like a really poor place for UFOs to want to travel to. Like there'd be a lot of radar and things like that. Picking them up.
Well, they're picking up intelligence and stuff.
It seems like the government should be picking the spaceships up.
You think maybe they're just smarter than them.
It's too close.
Maybe.
Like we don't need to survey this area because this is where we're at. We'll survey over there.
Yes. All right. So I've got another quote. This is actually an unknown quote. I don't know who said it. Quote. One location I was a few weeks ago, we had viewed 4 UFOs. We know they weren't commercial flights because they were flying in the same path directly next to each other. And they definitely weren't military because of the lack of noise. They were silent. I felt like I was being watched. End quote.
I think that one could very easily
be military. I thought that too. I was like, they could be military. They don't have to be allowed to be military.
No, like there's definitely, like there are jets that are very, very loud that are military.
For sure.
But I would assume many more advanced countries probably have jets and military aircrafts that are very quiet.
We have several types of silent planes. I would put money on that shit.
You just got to put like a blanket around it. I mean, hey, we know all about sound treatment.
Yeah.
If Charlie and I can make a room quiet, the government can make
I'm sure they can make a
quiet.
Plane fly.
Put a muzzle on it,
we got to do an episode on this guy.
On the sky?
On this guy.
This guy.
But there was a guy that worked for the military. He said, oh, gosh, I cannot remember the name.
Bob?
Yes.
Yeah.
You remember the last name?
Lazard?
Yes.
Is it Lazard?
I think that's it. We got to do an episode on that guy.
That's going to be a big episode.
Because he talked about some crazy... I watched his interview with Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
It was pretty wild.
So you want to do the episode?
I don't know if I necessarily want to. I almost want you to do it because I know you'll do it really thoroughly and also be a lot of fun. I almost want to react to it.
Okay.
I feel like you should do it, Charlie.
Yeah. No, you do Roswell. I'll do Bob Lazar.
But they took the pieces from Roswell. They brought them to Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, they said that in the museum.
They did, didn't they?
Yeah, they said, here's exactly. And you want to go see an alien? You go right here.
You're like, wow, I just went through Dayton to get here.
I know. Like, why'd I go to Roswell? I could just went to Dayton.
Yeah,
hung out with.
No one wants to go to Dayton.
Deshaun Kaiser.
No one.
I think he might have been Toledo. It doesn't matter.
I went to high school with a guy that works. This is way, way off the beaten trail. I went to high school with a guy that works in a restaurant in Dayton, and he invited me to go there. And I said, sure. I still haven't gone.
That's a fun fact. I have a fun fact. We have a friend named Parker, and you know what he calls it?
What?
Dayton.
He does. He put those emphasis on those syllables. Okay, let's move on. I've got a bunch of encounters from this article that are super short. August 31st, 2020, in Otley, a large orange glowing ball of light around 300 feet high was spotted moving north to south in a very smooth manner at around 11:30 at night. That's one. 2, August 28th, 2020, Pontefract. 4 black objects were seen in a diamond formation traveling upwards and slowly out of view at around 8:30 at night. June 15, 2021, Leeds. An unexplained black triangle shape was observed with no lights or noise for around 5 minutes at 10:12 at night. June 12th, 2020, Bransley. A silver sausage-shaped object.
Continue, please. I need to know what happens next. Not hot dog.
Sausage-shaped object, approximately 600 feet long, was spotted. It began turning back and then disappeared at around 13:36. I think it's like 1 a.m. No, that'd be like 1. So it's in the afternoon. It's like 1 p.m.
I've actually heard about that one. Like the pie tin, the pie tin one, right?
Yeah.
Like the pie tin, there's the cigar. The cigar chips I heard were neutral. The pie tin shaped ones I heard were bad, but the sausage shaped ones I heard were the bratwurst.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I heard they were bratwurst too.
Okay.
June 9th, 2021, Leeds. 2 thin, black, and curved elongated triangles were seen flying above, stopped in midair at around 12:55 at night. Yeah. So those are some pretty rapid fire scenes of UFOs.
Some of those I feel like would be really hard to see. It's like no lights, black object, and it's like 10 o'clock at night. It's like,
I think they're seen because they black out the sky. Kind of like the Phoenix.
I'm biased because we live in Ohio and we have something I like to call clouds all the time. All the time. All the time.
Yeah.
So we probably wouldn't notice. But I guess if you live somewhere where there's mostly clear skies, which I'm not sure that England's known for that, but
No way.
I guess
Also,
it could be
you
clear.
know-
Or the moonlight. The moonlight can make things.
It reminds me of that story from the 1500s in Germany.
Oh,
with
where
the shapes in the skies.
the fighting.
So lastly, from the Yorkshire Post, we've got a couple quotes from people living in Yorkshire talking about UFOs. Quote, on September 19th, 1952 at around 11 a.m., it's believed that a silver disc-shaped object followed a Gloucester meter, which was returning to RAF Topcliffe, that military base again. Observers on the ground stated that it rotated whilst hovering before traveling in a westerly direction at a very high speed. This sighting is now associated with Operation Mainbrace, which was a large-scale naval operation which attracted the attention of multiple UFOs, the one being seen at Topcliffe being just one of many UFO sightings from September 14th to September 25th, end quote.
I've never heard of that.
I haven't either. I think it's something to look into on top of this, because there's that's just so interesting about this case. Like, it leads into many other
Rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most good UFO stories do.
That's true. Also, I wonder, not to back way too far up, but I wonder if that man in the blacks from the ministry, do you think it was Men in Black?
That was my first inkling, and I thought that's where it was going to go. But
I don't know.
other than general bias, I guess I have no real reason to believe that.
I don't know. I kind of do, because he disappeared and was never seen from again. That could just be a government, worker.
Was seen by our Godfrey, right?
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't mean he disappeared. He just wasn't seen by that person anymore.
That's fair point. Fair point. So in 1957, it was reported that a small copper bottom flying saucer, believed to be about 18 inches, was found in Slipfoam Moor near Scarsborough. Now, this is another story from the Post. This is another quote. Quote, this evidence being part of the UFO was widely controversial and disputed, with many believing that the copper parts originated from Earth. However, these mysterious findings, which reporters suggested contained thin copper sheets, were engraved with hieroglyphics, sparking wide intrigue. These shards were recently found in the Science Museum archives and were then re-examined after archivists were told that they are past significance. End quote. So they think that this thing was semi-made on Earth, and then they weren't sure where the copper came from Earth. I'm a little confused, but it seems like maybe they're pointing to the aliens are coming from inside the planet. I think that's what that might lead to.
Interesting. Or at least, we have some hand in what the aliens are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's, the whole theory that, we made a deal with aliens, a share of, we provide people for experiments. They provide technology for iPhones so I can watch football on my phone while recording episodes. I'm just kidding. I'm not doing that. That would be disrespectful to Charlie.
It would be very nice. But I'm actually really intrigued by the idea that it has hieroglyphics inside of it and carved into it. Because that means this is very old.
Yeah.
If their Egyptian hieroglyphics are in this thing, that means one could be ancient aliens. Two could be just aliens hanging around since back then, or it could be us from a previous time jumping forward.
A lot of options there.
There are. What do you think?
I have no idea.
All right, cool.
I like the inclusion of them, though, because I think it's a very unique detail. And it's fun because it opens up doorways to basically what you were just saying.
Yeah, rabbit holes. It's another story. Quote, in 2016, a retired police officer claims he saw a UFO over Holmfirth, West Yorkshire, after he repeatedly saw a triangular-shaped aircraft which glowed bright green in the dark night sky. The man took a closer look through his binoculars before reporting to the Scaliser-based UFO investigator, who then went and filmed what he also believed was the same UFO. End quote. And I have one more story from the Yorkshire Post. Apparently is the most well-known. It says, quote, the most recent well-known UFO sighting in Yorkshire was in September 2017. Two young stargazers saw a strange-looking orange object which moved around in the sky for over 2 hours. This event took place over Ribblehead Railway Viaduct in Yorkshire Dales, with the Yorkshire Dales being a place which has numerous UFO sightings during the past decade. End quote.
That was the most famous?
As of 2017.
Okay.
But there are a lot of sightings in this area.
We should go, right?
To Yorkshire?
Sure.
I would love to go to Yorkshire.
Like, I've seen unexplained lights in the skies. Especially with my friend Ethan, we've caught one before, but I've never seen a ship. And I'm so like, I don't want to be abducted. I don't want to meet an alien, but I'm so envious of these people that are stargazing or just happen to be at the right place at the right time and see a ship. Even if deep down I was like, that very well could have been a military aircraft, but just the possibility that it wasn't.
But what if you do go out to Yorkshire, right? And you're stargazing.
You mean
we what? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on.
What if we go out there and let's just say it's midnight. We're on the beach.
It's romantic.
Yeah. Lovely. What if we see a ship and then we see just like a flash and we look down our phone and it's 4 a.m.
Would you go to regression therapy? Would you go to
hypnosis?
Yeah.
I would. I don't know what I would do.
What do you remember? I don't know. What do you remember? I don't know. But imagine like then we get back and we see that there's an episode that we don't remember recording.
That would be creepy, actually.
We don't remember it, but we interviewed an alien. And we're going to hear it for the first time with you.
Yeah.
Hopefully we ask some good questions.
What if it actually is just really good, but no one believes us?
Jeez. Like, no, guys, we did not actually record this. Like, yeah, sure you did.
Yeah, right? Who's the voice? Was it Ethan?
It sounds just like Seth Rogen. What was his name? Paul?
Oh, man. Yeah.
That would be crazy.
So,
or what if it was just like us talking and then like weird electronic sounds, but we seem to understand it in the moment.
That's really fucking scary.
Like in the moment we understood it.
Yeah.
But in listening back, we have no idea what we're responding to.
Ooh, don't like that at all.
No, that is actually very, very creepy.
Yeah.
That would be. Imagine like the people, you can leave a review on a specific episode. They're like, man, this is trash. This is garbage. Hard listen.
2 out of 5 stars. Seems to be responding to nothing.
It's a lot of banter.
Here's the button. At this point in the episode, we'd like to stop and thank all the people that have joined our Patreon because we're just super pumped that you're there. And we want to thank The Collector, Alex, Callie, Stacy, Logan, Jason, I'm still going, Sam, Kanpula, and Elion.
Awesome. Thank you for joining our Patreon, joining our community of bonus content.
Yeah, there's a lot of you this week, which is incredible. Thank you for coming aboard. There's a lot of things on the Patreon that you can listen to. There's a whole back catalog. But Tyler, what's one thing from the Patreon that you could emphasize?
Okay, so one thing that we do with our dedicated tier and the not tier, it's once a month, and it is just an hour Google Meet, which means normally it's at 8:30 Eastern, if that works for you, a weekday. And we post a link, and for an hour, you are able to join that link, and it's shooting the breeze. It's talking about us, talking about you guys, just learning about you. Behind the scenes stuff. We always seem to divulge what we're working on.
I love it.
Designs we have in progress.
I'm like, look about tattoos, and everyone's like, put your shirt on.
Yeah, and if we have merch ideas, we'll show early designs on there, and we'll talk about what movie should we do next, or people suggest topics, and we'll do them. Hide Behind was talked about it a couple weeks before.
I do icebreakers. Yeah. Those are always fun.
Yeah, and so sometimes we talk about the podcast, sometimes we don't. It depends on how the event's going. But I really like it because it gives us an opportunity to really create a relationship with some of the listeners that have been around the longest and are very interested in the podcast.
It lets us get to know people more deeply.
Yeah, it's like Instagram. I would say Instagram and Patreon are the two places where those type of relationships seem to blossom the most. So it's really fun. It's a cool, intimate way to kind of It's a intimate bonus content that we like to provide every month and keep tabs on people and create those relationships. So if you are in either the not tier or the dedicated tier, that happens every month for an hour, just a Google Meet, basic. You don't need to pay for any subscription, blah, 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 blah. It's just as long as you have Google and you can hop onto a phone or a laptop, we are there for an hour
on my
every
phone
month.
before. It's fun. It's a good time.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something that's old. Like this has been
Dusty.
part of the podcast, part of the Patreon since we started it, the director's cut. We take an old episode and we talk over it, which doesn't sound super appealing, but we talk about things that were happening behind the scenes, what was stressing us out, what was going on, what was making us have an incredible time there. And Tyler repeats the same jokes.
I have an uncanny ability to hear something, make the joke, and then like 2 seconds later, the recorded version of myself makes the same comments.
It's been pretty consistent.
And not to plug something that we're not talking about right now, but we recently recorded Remembering the Bizarre, which is when producer Ben quizzes both Charlie and I on one of our old episodes. A lot we do not remember. There's one comment that was open-ended. I can't believe I got it. Now, we didn't guess it, but the fact that I even said it is kind of remarkable.
Yeah.
And I notice that all the time in Director's Cut. But it's fun because, just being honest, we don't often listen back to our own episodes.
No, well, I kind of save it now for Director's Cut.
Yeah. But even back then, it's kind of like you put an episode out and you kind of push forward. And we can only listen to our own voices so much.
As soon as I finish the edit on Monday, I'm done with that episode.
But there's like little, like, not every episode do I love beginning to end. There's some that I do. But I feel like most episodes have like a moment that I love.
For sure.
And I get to re-experience those with you in real time. And but for me, I like the background stuff. Like, oh, remember, was this in the attic or was this here?
Yeah.
What mic? Or, oh, remember this was happening.
Or what was going on?
It was virtual because so-and-so was, But that is a really good, fun segment. Along with much other bonus content.
There's a lot on there.
Yeah, for sure.
So I hope you consider joining Patreon. Thank you for those that have. We appreciate you. Let's get back to this episode.
The discussion.
Yeah. So
how do you want this to go? Are we talking about the little snippets, the little popcorns? Are we focusing on?
We can use those to make our point about Alan, but we're really just going to see
Godfrey,
Alan Godfrey, if he was abducted.
Is it free or freed?
Free.
Godfrey.
F-R-E-Y.
Godfrey.
Godfrey.
Okay.
Alan Godfrey. It's a very British name. DC Alan Godfrey. I don't remember what DC stands for.
Director or Doctor of Chiropractic, isn't it?
No, not in England.
Are you sure?
Yes.
He's cracking people's backs. Aliens are like, my neck, it's killing me.
I can adjust you, lad.
Just bend right over right there.
Oh, frogs and... I'm not going to do it. Have a spot of tea while I pop your spine.
Wait, is it detective? Like, is it
DC? I cannot remember what it stands for. So I watch a lot of Broadchurch.
Yeah.
And the main character, they called her DC, whatever her name was.
Not Marvel, though.
What? Marvel? No, I'm confused.
DC?
Oh my God. Yeah, I think it means detective.
He's a police officer.
You know what I'm going to do?
He's going to do the damn thing.
Yeah. It's Detective Constable.
Oh. The Detective Constable, Alan Godfrey.
Yes. Constable is funny to me. Yes, that's what it stands for. Which I think is like kind of like, it's not like the higher level, it's like lower level. Yeah.
The people that might jump to aliens in certain instances during a case.
Yes, you could say that about him. I think he wasn't younger when it happened. He was like in his like 40s. So what do you think about the UFO shape? The diamond? Because I've never heard that shape before.
It's interesting because, well, we don't really get a detail on the aliens other than his hypnotherapy.
What he talks about beards. It's creepy though, right?
Yeah.
The little creatures and a tall one with a beard.
Because, so like, we were joking about like with the sausage thing.
Yes.
But there's, the cigar, there's the tin foil, the disc, diamond. But we've heard about like crisscross from like you referenced that 1500s alien battle that happened over Germany. Was that what?
Yeah, it was Frankfurt, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I have no opinion on it because I don't have like, It sounds cool. It's not the way I envisioned a diamond. Like I envisioned it, like I said, flat, pointed in and out, and just
too.
like rotating that way.
I saw it like standing straight up.
Not, okay. If I do see a spaceship in my life, I'm not gonna say I'll be disappointed if it's not the disc.
The classic.
I'm not saying I'll be disappointed.
Get the Pepsi Classic I think UFOs, please.
And it's like if you're dehydrated and someone hands you RC Cola, you're gonna be very, very happy. But then the next day, you're like, I wish maybe they would have given me a sweet tea.
I wish they had given me a Gatorade or something.
Yeah, So in the moment, I'll be very appreciative. But looking back, I hope it's not maybe this diamond weird thing. I would prefer the disc, but that's just me.
I would want to see the cigar shape.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'd be very interested to see that.
Well, how big did he say? It was like 20 feet?
20 feet high, 14 feet wide. I don't know how he just eyeballed that.
They all do.
I know.
It's actually probably part of their detective constable training. So you have to eye things.
I don't know if you're making a joke, but you could be right. You could actually be correct.
It sucks that it ruined the dude's life. It really was just bad timing. Like, I really do believe if this happened in 2023 and he witnessed that, people would be like, yeah, probably was.
Besides, what's his name from Brazil?
Antonio Villas-Boas.
Besides him, name one person where it helped them to see a spaceship. I don't think you can find one.
I feel like we talked about one.
Where it helped them?
The man Yoshihiro from Japan.
Did that help him?
It did. He created a lifelong telepathic friend. And if that's like
goddamn,
it's an intergalactic pen pal.
Well, goddamn, gosh darn,
the human guy that could be a Men in Black can't make friends.
No,
but Yoshihiro.
Yeah, I
think you're right. Yoshihiro, I think his name was. He is out making friends with, and he flew to Saturn.
Yeah, he flew all over.
I think that went okay. Now, he got terrified at first.
Yeah.
They were pointing up.
I really think that they actually didn't go anywhere.
That's true.
They made the ship rumble.
Yeah. He was on Space Mountain. But they were investigating some other mountains.
The starfish, man. They're creepy, though. Those are maybe one of the creepiest animals we talked about.
Maybe they fly the diamond one. See, it's like, I feel like it's like, it's like those old cards where you'd flip them over and then you get to flip another one over. And you'd have to remember where they are. Mm-hmm. You flip it over, it's a horse, and you flip it over, it's a cow. It's like, okay, I gotta remember that's where the cow is. That's where the horse is on my next turn. I feel like it's like match the spaceship with the alien type.
I know.
It's like the little gray, the cigar, and then it's like the long tall whites and the pie sheet. It's
the
like
Nordics.
Not saying that that's what it is, but it's like I don't know, and it's like
you
we don't know anything about that.
You described the UFO in that episode, but I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was just like a rectangle.
It was orange. I remember it was definitely an orange glowing light.
That's a connection. Ooh, interesting.
Or Yoshihiro is colorblind. It could be yellow.
It
could
red.
be green. It could be red. He don't know.
It's out here. Okay, so how do you feel about all those short sightings in Yorkshire, in the Yorkshire area?
Some of them are very traditional UFO sightings where you just see a light and it's unexplainable.
Do you think it helped make Alan Godfrey's point that there are these UFOs in this area? It was not so far-fetched for this to happen to him, which I think is fair.
I think there's more of a connection between the mini UFO stories and Alan Godfrey's abduction than there is between Alan Godfrey's abduction and the first story.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Just because Alan Godfrey experienced a UFO doesn't mean that the first guy was abducted by aliens.
No, that's true. But do you think
it was 5 months later. Okay. And he was killed and dropped off. And
maybe he didn't cooperate.
I don't know.
Do you think there's any connection there?
I don't have enough information to speak on it. I don't know.
That's interesting.
I mean, it's certainly possible.
To me, I think it points very clearly, but I don't know. Maybe I'm making assumptions.
Well, but it also fits. That's there's bias there because that's what the main character thinks too, right?
That's true.
The
story and I did look at it pretty heavily from him, from his angle.
And it is also very, very, very coincidental that he would have an experience. So I could see why, but it could just be a coincidence. But so the first story, I'm I definitely could see how you could paint it as a UFO abduction gone wrong. Definitely could see that, but I'm not 100% bought in. However, Alan Godfrey definitely seemed to have a very extraterrestrial experience.
Yeah.
Because we never really went over this clearly. Do you think he got a legitimate phone call? So he gets a phone call, right? Do you think that person really saw cattle and the cattle wasn't there? Or do you think the phone call in itself was fake?
Wasn't a phone call. It was dispatched.
Oh, that's right.
Sorry if I didn't make that clear.
No, it probably was. I just wasn't thinking.
Yeah, he was dispatched. I think what he was dispatched about was the very uncommon event of cattle being in the road. I think they weren't actually in the road. I think it was some type of projection, some kind of false reality made by the UFOs.
The dispatch was genuine.
Yes.
But what they saw wasn't real.
Yes.
I didn't know if you were saying the dispatch was not real.
I think the dispatch was for sure
Like, what
real.
if they tapped into his thing?
No, I don't think that's what happened.
It's also, well, it's like, hey, there's a cow on the road. Could you, like, move it?
I don't know if it is a police matter, but I think it's also a very quiet little town. You know what I mean? So I could see it if they've been out there causing problems.
There's only one road to work, and the cow is right on it.
That's kind of like Hartville.
So he sees it, and I love that he has a sketch pad. More officers should have sketch pads. I guess they all have pads to write things.
Definitely did in the
I
80s.
think more of them should draw. I think instead of writing down what they see, I think more officers should draw what they see.
What if they can't draw? They're just really bad at drawing. Why is that?
Maybe
we can't use any of your evidence. They're all stick figures.
Maybe Godfrey's really bad at drawing, and it wasn't a diamond at all.
I think he's actually pretty okay.
But he lost time. So he sees it, he draws it,
Yep.
and then he does one. Then he radios
tries to reach the radio, but it's dead.
Okay, and then there's a blast of light.
Mm-hmm.
Is the blast of light him coming to, or does he? Do you think it's blast of light, and then the experience happens, or do you think the experience happened and the flash of light was him coming to, and it's already over?
I would imagine. I don't know, but if I had to imagine, I would imagine it was the flash of light is him coming to.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
It's Will Smith with a thing.
I don't tend to believe in the hypnotherapy a ton. So I like
that
the
one's
whole
not very detailed
the
either.
alien with the beard and everything is kind of like But the actual experience that he had, and I love the detail of the lack of rain, like something was hovering.
That is a good detail.
Like that's
The itchy foot is strange too. Don't know what
he's
that
wearing
is.
uncomfortable boots and well, it was split too.
It was split open. Yeah, I don't know.
The cow kicked
I
him.
don't even know what to make of that.
He just got kicked in the face by a cow and got knocked out.
Yeah,
like the cows are like, we're going constable tipping.
So what do you think? Do you believe it? So on our show, we have a scale, and it goes believable, viable, skeptical, unbelievable. Where do you think you go on this scale?
What am I rating?
Do you think he was abducted?
So it's not the first story. We're
No,
going
it's
off
not
of
the
him.
first story. We're just going off of him.
Viable.
Viable. I think that's pretty fair. I'm also going to go viable because there's no other witnesses that can back it up.
The cows.
But his story is pretty typical and it makes a lot of sense. And I just don't know why you'd ruin your life over something you made up, you know?
Yeah. I would, and like even if it was between skeptical and viable, just because the area seems to have so many other people reporting to see, even the diamond-shaped one definitely adds to the activity for sure.
So that was the abduction of Alan Godfrey. What were you saying?
Freeman. I don't know.
Alan Freeman.
I hope you edit all that out.
Is Alan Freeman somebody?
I think Freeman Godfrey. I don't know. It just sounded good out of my mouth.
So the thing about the studio is that I'm still really hot. It's not as hot as the attic, but
really?
Well, I think it happens when I present. I just get so amped up.
Okay.
I'm
very comfortable. And when our air is on, I'm actually fairly cold.
I like it cold.
Like I'm ready to have but you don't want to live anywhere cold.
I don't know, man. I like the AC on and the outside warm.
Okay.
That's what I like.
I need a studio hoodie. That's what I need.
You should bring a studio hoodie.
We need lockers here.
A locker?
Do you want your
This is
locker
in
by
high
my
school?
locker? We'll put Ben's in the other room.
Yeah, that's fine. There.
Yeah, I think a locker would be. There's some stuff in the studio that I don't know where to put.
I agree. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So that was an interesting story. I told you it was gonna be an interesting one. Pretty wild.
I always look forward to the ones that you tell me are going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Compared to the ones that aren't.
Well, I think I've got 2 levels. I've got interesting
And Wampus
spooky.
Cat. Sorry. And spooky.
I think the Wampus Cat was at least fun to discuss.
Y'all ain't never seen a cat with 6 legs?
Yeah, this is a unique tale. It's pretty typical of
It's a by the books alien tale, which is I like it.
Very fun.
I like it.
Yeah. So if you enjoy this episode and you want to tell us, you can go on Apple and leave a review and say something like, "Oh man, that's great." Or you can go on Spotify and I think you can leave a 5-star.
I don't know anymore.
I think you can.
I don't know.
And you can also leave a message in the episode.
That I do know.
What was it? What can you say in there?
You can say whatever you want to say in there. You can say, "This was awesome. You guys should look into this," or "This reminds me of this." And I do want to shout out. I don't have the name on hand. You got it in our stories, but someone who's like, "I wish all their episodes had the little comment section because I love their first episode." So I literally went all the way back to our very first episode, one by one, and I added the "What did you think about this episode?" to every single previous episode.
Oh boy!
So now you can listen to any old episode and leave your comments on them that the world can see.
Maybe don't comment on the 27 Club.
What? That one's fine.
And if you're enjoying this episode and you're like, "Oh man, I did really like that, but I'm all out of content. What can I do?" I got an answer. You can go on patreon.com. We talked about it early in the episode, but we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on there. Whole bunch of back catalog up to like 2021, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May of 2021, I believe.
There's a bunch of stuff in there.
We are perfect for, not sponsoring, that's not the word I'm looking for. If you have a road trip coming up, we got you.
Oh, yeah, you can binge.
Airplane travel, we are there for you.
It's not all this content, it's different stuff. You mix these up a little bit.
Games, quizzes, director's cuts. We watch movies together, the Google Meets, like I mentioned before. We get quizzed on our old episodes. We get quiz each other on current episodes.
Quizzes are fun.
Lots of fun stuff. So that's all on Patreon. And if any of you work at Patreon and have any connection to the support team,
send us a message.
Please reach out to us. It might be
We're going to have some words.
You're our only hope. But thank you, everybody, so much for listening, hanging out with us. I hope you're having a great week. Stay tuned. And as always, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Charlie.
And catch us next week on Believing the Bizarre,
a podcast as bizarre as you are.